Hello and welcome to STARCAST from Planet Waves. My name's Eric Francis Coppolino, the host of Planet Waves FM and the author of the Planet Waves horoscope. Hello, today is March 8th, 2022, and I'd like to just begin with a short recap of all that we lived through last week and then pick up the current astrology with the moon's ingress into Gemini, which takes place at about 1:40 on the Tuesday, the 8th, Eastern Standard Time. All times in this podcast are Eastern Time. Please adjust for your time zone. There are a lot of them in our listening area. Okay, so what we lived through for about the past 10 days was a completely unique, meaning once-in-a-lifetime event. This included a cluster of conjunctions that I have been speaking about for months, which peaked March 2nd and 3rd. This included a quad conjunction involving Pluto in Capricorn, Mercury conjunct Saturn, then a whole group of conjunctions going on in Pisces. Those are not over, by the way. That's the last remaining vestige. Earlier this week, I believe on the 6th or 7th, Venus and Mars finally completed their conjunction after moving across the sky together in a streak for about a month. That was truly impressive to have Venus moving at the speed of Mars and the two of them moving in a 1-degree conjunction for so many weeks. That's very odd, and it's also a kind of condition that is not looked upon favorably by Vedic astrologers because it is so competitive. That competitive edge has cooled off a bit now that Venus has overtaken Mars, and therefore Venus is at 2 degrees, and some minutes in Mars is at 1 degree, and some minutes of Aquarius. So whatever that all was, it is mostly behind us, though what we witnessed during that Venus-Mars conjunction in Capricorn, then aligning with Pluto and Vesta, was a picture of the strife and civil war now going on in Ukraine. It's my position that this is not strictly an invasion, but rather more of a civil war. More on that on Planet Waves FM on Friday. Okay, so picking up the story from the moon's ingress into Gemini. Now I had that chart up, and I was all tidy and organized for a change. Let's do that. Okay, so moon's ingress into Gemini, 1:39:27 seconds Eastern Time on Tuesday, March 8th. So when we read the moon, just as a point of background of how to read astrology in a coherent way, when you read the moon through one sign, and you study the aspects that the moon makes in that one sign as it moves through them in order. And there are branches of astrology, including horary and to some degree electional, the choosing of times for things, where you take the moon 1 degree at a time and one aspect at a time, and you make a list of all the aspects the moon makes, and that is the current story. And so there's two major things going on in the current story with the moon in Gemini. First of all, moon makes a trine to the newly formed, newly finished Venus-Mars conjunction in Aquarius. We'll be doing that all day and into the early evening Eastern Time. The moon then moves on, and it will make a trine to Juno, which is somewhat out of play at the moment, but it'll come back into focus when Venus and Mars catch up with it. First quarter moon is the next big thing, and this is a little complicated because the sun, which is needed to be part of first quarter moon, is involved in this quad conjunction. So it is the sun is in a conjunction now with Nessus, Jupiter, and Neptune. So when the moon makes a square to the sun, it's also making a square to all of those. And it begins with moon square Nessus in Pisces. So when you've got all this Gemini and all of this Pisces, there can be a lot of mental, emotional overlay. They're both very dualistic signs. It's not easy to actually have a clear sense of what's going on when you've got the moon and the sun in such dualistic signs, and then add to it 4 extraordinarily powerful planets that are in Pisces, and those are Nessus, Jupiter, the Sun, and Neptune. And so with that, we've got a lot of fog. It in some ways can be potentially productive, but you have to be cautious of things like believing things that are not true, and falling for people's exaggeration of whatever situation is involved. And the chances are that when you're considering something, its impact and its importance, that because of this Moon-Jupiter square at the middle of all of this, it's probably not as urgent as you might think it is. That will take a little time to settle in. I can feel the turning point of the sun and the moon in a square. That's often a quite a productive turning point. That is later in the day on the 9th. The exact sun-moon square takes place actually 5:45 a.m. Eastern Time on the 10th. So while this is all happening, one more planet enters Pisces, and that is Mercury. Mercury enters Pisces at 8:32 p.m. on the 9th. That's Wednesday night, Eastern Time. And that's always an interesting experience. Mercury in Pisces has an imaginal quality to it. It is creative. It is interested in more soft-spoken communication. And we are on notice that over the next few weeks, a little bit less, Mercury is going to make a good few conjunctions to points that are in Pisces, including Nessus, Jupiter, and Neptune. Meanwhile, amidst all of this, the sun is working its way toward the once per year conjunction of the sun and Neptune. So I would say that the best astrological advice I could give for the next approximately 48 hours or a little bit more is to keep your perspective, verify what is true and what is not, and be cautious about letting crazy people get you down. When there are tense aspects to Neptune, or when Neptune is overloaded in any way, in this case, Neptune in Pisces is going to take a square from the moon, not a very big deal, but there's a lot of planets around it to build up exaggeration. Be cautious about crazy makers. Be cautious about having responses of your own that are not realistic, and definitely make sure that you get enough rest and enough water. Finally, let's see. At the end, around the end of all of this, let's say approximately on later on the 10th, the moon wraps up all of this with pretty much a simultaneous trine to Saturn and a square to Neptune. So again, this just underscores the be realistic, communicate, and understand when people are either acting in an intentionally crazy-making way or in a way that is just negligent of communication or openly deceptive. It's very important to be able to sort this out for yourself. Okay, in the time remaining, I want to just contemplate one other aspect that is taking shape, and it's going to be exact. Let's see. This is Pallas Athene, a very important asteroid. I believe asteroid number 2 or 3. And where is that? They make this very small. Aspects. Pallas Athene, conjunct Chiron. This is brewing now, and we're ahead of this one. It takes place on March 16th, so it takes place in a little more than a week. And here is where we get some information about the kind of political wound that we have, particularly in the United States. Now, I'm not all that big on describing Chiron as being about wounding, but it almost always has that element of injury, and then of how an injury is handled or treated, and whether it is turned into a source of wisdom and power, or whether it is just allowed to fester and become, an increasing problem. We've been talking a lot about the United States chart, which is the one that I use is the Sibley chart. It's a little past 5 p.m. on July 4th in Philadelphia. And in this chart and most of the other July 4th charts, the moon in Aquarius is conjunct Pallas Athene in Aquarius. So again, Pallas is the asteroid of politics, law, and justice. And the way that it shows up in the United States chart is that it reduces politics to a kind of mental obsession, commercial enterprise, or parlor game. Those are some of your activities in the third house. And so we see this all the time, where politics is just basically turned into a commercial affair rather than a civic matter. It's all about who has the most money. It's almost a competitive game, and used by merchants to sell things. And this is a fundamental problem with American politics, is that top to bottom, on every layer, including how we think about it, it's all about money. And worse than that, it's vindicated by money by making politics a commercial thing. But the other thing that we do with politics is that we make it into an identity thing. There is an obsession, and this is nothing new. This goes back to the late 1960s when Chiron last entered Aries. We have an obsession with identity politics, and that is to say, the politics of me, the politics of who I am. Where am I in this political situation? What does this mean for me, right? It's a lot of me stuff with Aries going on, and Chiron is going to focus that. And when you add Pallas to that, it really emphasizes this kind of, I think what manifests most of the time is a genuinely petty obsession with identity politics and taking offense at anything and everything pretty much. And it gets tired, and it is tiring to participate in it, and it is exhausting to see it happening. And it generally leads nowhere because the whole thing is so selfish. And in the end, politics is not really about me. Politics is about us. Politics is about, the word means, how do we run the city? Now, for politicians who like to move up, they're very good at making it about them, but making it seem about you. And many people follow up on this and make it seem like something really important is happening, but in the end, it's all about how offended someone is. And I think that I'll have more to say about this as the next week approaches and this Pallas conjunct Chiron in Aries develops. But here we are, continuing to work our way along the brink at the edge of the world. There is a conflict that hardly anyone understands going on in Ukraine. I would caution you that most of the media narratives that you are hearing are in many ways the complete opposite of what is really going on. This is all becoming a huge distraction, and notably this other thing, which I shall not mention by name today that we have been dragged by the hair through the coals, which has divided families, divided marriages, divided companies, divided friendships, and divided all of society, is suddenly over. Now, how is that possible if it was a real thing to begin with? These things don't just end. And I would note that the political implications and motivations around that are starting to come out on paper in very clear ways. So, all of that said, that is my report for you. I'm likely to be back Thursday or Friday with an update for the weekend and planning a probably shorter edition of Planet Waves FM for Friday night, as it is my birthday week. If you want to get yourself something for my birthday, please subscribe to Planet Waves. You'll see the subscribe options all over the place. The air is getting rather thin in astrology right now. There's really not that much astrology that has any grounding or is not taking a partisan viewpoint. Like, all we do on this website is classical astrology. We're never ever going to talk about anything else. Well, here at Planet Waves, we love all the planets and are well versed in pretty much all of the important ages and phases of astrology and take a rather worldly view of things. So if you'd like to get yourself something good, and also we're about to come out with the Aries reading in a few days, that goes on sale soon. Please take advantage of what we do. We're an ad-free business run by a very small team of people who, by any realistic economic sense, are volunteers. They're not really paid enough to be called employees. So anyway, if you like what we're doing and you come back and you check in, please do patronize our business. All right, signing off from Kingston, New York, on what appears to be a cold, clear, sunny day it's only 10:39 in the morning. How's that possible? Anyway, and also I'm planning a conversation with Kate Rozhenko, who has safely made it from Kiev to Warsaw, Poland, where she is, and will be applying to be a refugee in the European Union. The important thing is she has made it safely out of what is now becoming an absurdly war-torn country where she has spent her whole life up until now. All right, once again, signing off for Planet Waves. Bye for now.